Will Lamar Jackson be ready to go for the Rams Week 6 matchup with the Ravens? Also, a Rams starter losing his spot to who? And also, we got Week 5 PFF grades and a 49ers cornerback talking smack about Kyren Williams. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramley, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do me a huge favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell if you want to support every single episode. Hit that like button for your Los Angeles Rams, and also drop a comment down below. Podcast listeners, write us a review. We'll read on the show. My name is Doug McCain. Friends call me D-Mac. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMac_LA. I've covered LA sports for over a decade. 24/7 Sports, Bleacher Report, SI, Dodgers Nation. I also do NFL radio for Westwood One. I'm flying solo today. The People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, will be back tomorrow. But on today's episode, will Lamar Jackson play in the Rams Week 6 matchup with the Baltimore Ravens? Also, what do we make of this starting offensive lineman that could lose his spot? We'll talk about that. Also, we got Week 5 PFF grades. Do the Rams need to make any changes? We'll get into that. But first, this episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, what's up, Ramley? We are trying to still get over this loss, and the best way to get over a loss is get back on the field, and that's what the Rams will try to do this week. The Los Angeles Rams are back in action, and they are taking on the Baltimore Ravens. So this Sunday, the Rams heading to Baltimore at 10 a.m. kickoff, and the big question is who will be the Ravens quarterback in that game. Will it be Cooper Rush, who has been playing in Lamar Jackson's absence? He's been dealing with that hamstring injury, and if we're looking at this game, that has to be the number one thing you consider, because the Ravens, with the injured players, they have looked like the worst team in the league. They got boat raced at home. They lost to the Texans this afternoon by a final score of 44-10. They got smoked by a Texans team. They only had one win on the year, haven't been playing great football, and now this Ravens team is reeling at 1-4, and they need Lamar Jackson back. Well, today we did get an update from Jay Glazer, who said today on Fox, quote, "I was told there's an outside shot for next week, so they don't want to shut it down yet, but the bye is coming after that, obviously. If they decide to hold him out next week, then they get 3 weeks to rest him for the upcoming games following. But they're not saying he's out yet for next week." So if the Ravens did opt to hold him out with the bye week coming, that would give him 3 weeks to rest, and then that gets him back on the field, and hopefully he stays on. You don't have any lingering issues. But if you don't see Lamar Jackson, well, this could really help for the Rams. Either way, I think that if you're the Rams, obviously you'd rather see Cooper Rush than Lamar Jackson. But even if it is Lamar Jackson, it's Lamar Jackson who has been banged up. How close is he to 100%? Clearly, he could use the additional rest to get better and not incur any future injuries. It helps that. So it does feel like it's tough to say. It really is. Right now, it doesn't feel like he's going to play. But I do think that considering they're 1-4, you really have to save your season at that point. You go down 1-5, it's a lost season. So they paid him for games like the Rams and trying to take full advantage of Lamar Jackson in his MVP years, his prime years. So you would expect if he's 70-80% that he's going to give it a go. But having said that, if you're the Los Angeles Rams, you just lost to a 49ers team that was quarterbacked by Mac Jones. You made Mac Jones look like Tom Brady. And you don't want to have that happen again. You don't want to take a backup quarterback lightly. It's going to be a very desperate Ravens team trying to do anything they can to right the ship in Baltimore. So the Rams are going to be hopefully playing with a desperate team as well, because that was really just an inexcusable loss. The Rams coming off that 26-23 overtime loss at SoFi Stadium. So we'll find out. We'll continue to get updates throughout the week, but it's going to be interesting to see what comes of that, because the Rams are hurt, man. Before we get into the next segment, I do want to point out that Lenore, the cornerback for the 49ers, he was on his Instagram Live, and a 49ers account asked him about Kyren Williams. And Kyren Williams in the first quarter, he ends up scoring a touchdown, and he points to Lenore, and Lenore on his IG Live said, quote, "He's got a fat mouth. He shouldn't have been talking. He pointed at me when he scored." Well, them some fighting words. And the rivalry is real between the 49ers and the Rams. And Kyren still had a really big day. Finished with 131 total yards, had 2 receiving touchdowns, did fumble the ball at the goal line, which definitely hurt the Rams beyond belief. It lost the game. It would have been the game-winning touchdown. Instead, the Rams had to settle for that game-tying field goal on the following drive, just a forced overtime where they would ultimately lose. But the reason I bring this up is I hope the Rams know that this happened. I hope the Rams are using anything they can as fuel right now, because it was just an inexcusable loss. And if they lose the 49ers and then the 49ers players are clowning them, I think it kind of it should say something to this Rams team, like, hey, like, it was already a bad loss, but what makes it even worse is now you got 49ers players clowning your best players. You hate to see that. Also, real quick before we get into that player could lose his starting spot for the Rams, we got to talk about some traveling, because the Rams, they're going to take on Baltimore at M&T Bank Stadium on Sunday, and then they'll have to play in London for Week 7 when they take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the Rams, their travel plans, the way that they've played, it's been pretty interesting. And Sean McVay thinks it's great. He thinks that it's going to give them an advantage in going out east and then having to go across the pond to take on the Jaguars. Sean McVay said, quote, "I actually think it's great because it's the scenario that we're dealt. What we'll do is we'll have a normal week of preparation. We'll go out to Baltimore on Saturday, but then we'll stay out there in our preparation for Jacksonville going into the London game. Then we'll fly out on Friday. That gives us a good opportunity to really lean in. I think it'll be good for guys to be able to get a couple of days off, let the emotions, let their bodies recover and recuperate. Then we'll come back swinging on Monday, but it'll be a normal week of preparation, and then we'll just stay out in Baltimore to shorten that trip to London when we go play Jacksonville before our bye." But what a big stretch this is going to be for us. So, yeah, a big stretch indeed. And the reason why I point this out is, man, this is going to be a very defining part of the Rams season. You just lost a game that you shouldn't have against a team playing with backups, against a division rival, and you just absolutely, I think, kind of got embarrassed on national television. I mean, you really did. It's not like you got blown out, but you lost to a lot of guys that were backups. And what if that 49ers team was fully healthy? If they were at 100%, would the Rams have lost by 20? Huh? I mean, seriously. So I'm looking for the Rams to really get angry about the way their season is. They shouldn't be 3-2. They should not be 3-2. At worst, they should be 4-1. And this is going to be a very critical stretch. If you lose to Baltimore, then you are 3-3. Then you go and play a much improved Jacksonville team on the road in London. Then you'd be 3-4. And then it would be the same scenario every year with this Rams team, where it's losing games you shouldn't have early on in the season. But what's the excuse this year, though, right? You don't have Puka Nacua out, Matthew Stafford banged up, and losing Kyren, things like that. I mean, this team is relatively healthy based on how they have been in years past. So you got to go out there and you got to deliver. You got to win games. So I'm really hoping that the Rams go 2-0 in the next 2 games. Then you're looking at a 5-2 start to your season. Then you're feeling a lot better, because now we look at the NFC West. The Seahawks, They choked away a game today. Sam Darnold threw an interception, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they ended up walking that one off with a field goal kick. By the way, that was such an incredible uniform game. You had the orange sickle, you had the creamsicle Buccaneers, orange and red throwbacks, and you had the Seahawks throwbacks. That was just a great throwback. Why aren't the Rams wearing throwbacks, right? Can we get a Rams throwback? Instead, they're just wearing these current uniforms when you had the best uniform in sports. I don't know about that, but Seahawks lost. The Cardinals are done. They're not going to be anything this year. So you're just looking at the Seahawks, 49ers as the teams you're kind of competing with, and both those teams don't look great. They've been dealing with some injuries. So the Rams are in a division where the floor is pretty high, but I don't think you're looking at the ceiling being high. I don't think you have legit Super Bowl contenders in this division outside of the Rams. So you just got to take care of business. You got to get through this little funk right now, and hopefully it starts with a win against the Ravens on Sunday, and then you go across the pond and you beat the Jacksonville Jaguars that are essentially the London Jaguars because they played there so much. They're essentially the home team over there. But coming up next, we're going to talk about a potential starter at the beginning of the season that has to earn his starting role back. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. This episode of Locked On Rams brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that make the neighborhood the neighborhood. These are the places that become an extension of home. Whether it's the sports bar dedicated to your team's fan base, the spot with the best wings in town for game day, or that beloved local chain that's been rooted in your community for years, these businesses are what bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. I love going to Highlight Burgers in South Pass on Fair Oak still. I mean, I went to middle school, high school there. My studio for Dodgers Nation is in South Pasadena. I hadn't been there for a long time until I started the show, and it's just wild. It's still there. It's still thriving, brings up a lot of good memories. And in my neighborhood, that's been the heart of our community for years. I mean, everyone going there still after games and things like that. It's the kind of place where you walk in, everyone knows your name. Sports are something that bring neighborhoods together, whether it's gathering the game day rituals and celebrating with the best wings in town or just being a part of a fan base that calls the place home. So it's great stuff to go anywhere, your local spots. Those are the places that you can't replace with chains and big major corporations and things like that. So it's pretty awesome to have Square. And Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/LockedOnNFL to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. This episode of Locked On Rams brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week moment that moved the game forward is, well, I guess it's a moment that moved the game back, and that's when Kyren Williams fumbled at the 1-yard line. It would have given the Rams the lead. I think they would have won the game. And hopefully what will bring the Rams forward with that move and that play is that this is the end of Kyren Williams fumbles in big moments. Hopefully this is rock bottom in the last straw, and he turns a corner with that, because the Rams need to make sure that their best running back is securing the football. And I'm hoping that, hey, yes, it was a setback, but sometimes you need a setback to set yourself up for success in the future. So, yes, the Rams lost. Yes, it still stings, but I think hopefully you can turn the negative to a positive. Like the players say, don't let it beat you twice. And hopefully Kyren Williams can hold on to the football. So when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Want to give a big shout out to those everyday listeners out there watching and listening to every single episode of Locked On Rams. Cannot thank you enough. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button, and be an everyday listener. Be an everyday viewer, and then you'll be the most informed fan, the fan that tunes in the number one Rams podcast, and we love you for it, and you love your Rams, and we're going to get through this journey of Rams football together. Okay, here in our second segment, something interesting developing on the offensive line, because Justin Dedich has done a fantastic job in the absence of Steve Avila, and even as Steve Avila has returned, Justin Dedich has continued to really play well. And Sean McVay was asked about what's going on the offensive line. Is Steve Avila behind Dedich? Is he still the starter? And here's what McVay had to say. He said, quote, "Steve is still getting back to health. Justin has done a really nice job. I've been really pleased with him, but the expectation is when Steve returns back to full health and plays the way that he's capable of, we expect him to be able to earn that role back. We do feel really good about what Justin has done for us." So that's really interesting. I mean, yes, Steve Avila is a guy that you took in the second round a couple years ago, was their highest pick, and he's an absolute massive human being, more of a road grade type of offensive lineman, but that's what the Rams do. It's meritocracy, right? They don't play the paychecks. They don't play the draft picks just because they're paying them, they're drafting them. No, they're playing guys that have earned the time, and sometimes your best ability is your availability. And Steve Avila has missed some time occasionally, and Dedich has performed well in his absence. So he was active for the last couple of games. So Steve Avila has been active for the last two Rams games, but those games were close in proximity, just 4 days apart from a Sunday game to a Thursday night game. So that limited his ability to recover fully. I think that's a part of it. But still, hey, I think they're going to roll with Dedich, and he's a guy who's rolling right now. And I think, too, he's playing well. And I like the fact that you're going with guys that are playing well, but also you're kind of lighting a fire under guys like a Steve Avila who's going to have to earn his spot back. So I think this is only a good thing. I really, really do. I think that this only helps Steve Avila, and it's good to have a guy like Justin Dedich playing his role well. So could he lose his spot? It's possible, but he's going to have to earn it back, and he's going to do it through playing the way we know he's capable of. So I still fully expect Steve Avila to have a big impact on this team, but for now, they're rolling with Justin Dedich until he proves that he can still be that guy and get 100% fully healthy. But coming up next, we are breaking down the PFF grades for Week 5, and what do they tell us about the Rams moving forward and a need that the Rams have, a trade they need to make. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. This episode of Locked On Rams brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet and put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love FanDuel. I use FanDuel. It's a lot of fun. You know it's trusted. And for me, when I use FanDuel, it definitely brings back some good memories, because I was using FanDuel when I put some money on the Rams in the 2021 NFC Championship game, and that's what I keep reminding myself all week, is that the Rams beat the 49ers when it matters most, and when it mattered the most to get to a Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. Let's not forget the 49ers haven't won a Super Bowl in a long, long time. So I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I build parlays, tried player props. He even followed me to live lines during the games. And it makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the app. Download that FanDuel app today and get started. And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Okay, here in our third segment, we're going to take a look at some of those PFF grades from the Rams' TNF loss to the 49ers. Let's start with the top 5 on offense. So the top 5 on offense, Matthew Stafford had an 80.6 PFF grade. Puka Nacua, a 79.3 PFF grade. Justin Dedich, 79.1. So Justin Dedich playing very well at that left guard spot. Steve Avila trying not to get Wally Pipp there, but Dedich performed well. And then this one might come as a surprise. Jordan Whittington, a 75.6 PFF grade, and then Coleman Shelton, 71.2. So if we're looking at the actual highest, well, this should make you feel very encouraged and excited. That is 89.5. Who was that? That was tight end Terrence Ferguson, rookie out of Oregon. But he only played 4 snaps, so he didn't qualify. But when he was in there, he popped. He really did. But Stafford, it was a good Stafford game. It really was. I mean, for the most part, he was fantastic once again. He had 2 big-time throws, no turnover-worthy plays. His average depth of target was 11.6 yards. So when your average depth of target is over 10 yards, that tells you you're trying to push the ball downfield. Another big completion to Atwell late. Puka Nacua did his thing. Devontae Adams, I think you want to still see some more production out of him. But I think what sticks out with Matthew Stafford's game so far this season is you're not seeing the turnovers. You're not seeing interceptions. He's really going out there and he's executing well. The back isn't an issue. It just, you need better execution from the rest of your guys, the Kyren Williams of the world. And Puka Nacua, he caught 10 of 12 targets, had 85 yards receiving and a touchdown, and he also had a 67.3 run blocking grade. So that's definitely big stuff from Puka Nacua. Really good run blocking grade. Anytime you catch 10 of 12, that's really good. You're not seeing the drops this year, and that's something that he really focused on the offseason, was avoiding those drops. 85 yards in a tutty for him, it feels like it's a down game. But when you consider the year that he's had so far, really a legit MVP candidate if this team wins 10 to 13 games and he continues his production all year, hey, you'll take it. He got in the end zone. So Justin Dedich, he allowed 2 pressures, but 0 QB hits, at the best run blocking grade of anyone on that Rams offensive line at 87. And Jordan Whittington, he was fantastic as a run blocker. He was great. He had an 89.4 run blocking grade. That is nearing elite territory. He also had 2 catches for 33 yards. So I like the receiving core. I really do. 2-2, he's popping. You're giving him some opportunities downfield. Devontae is drawing coverage. He's working on the outside. I think he's still getting into the swing of things, but he's opening things a lot for Puka Nacua, and then Puka Nacua an MVP. So I like the physicality of Jordan Whittington. I like the fact that 2-2 doesn't look like your prototypical Rams receiver. I know that the haters out there will say he's slight, that he's small, that he's not big, but he's fast. You can't teach speed, and that's what he brings. So I like that about him. And Whittington, he is prototypical, and he plays his role for this team well. Coleman Shelton, he led the Rams with a 78 pass blocking grade. He gave just 2 pressures all night. So it was a good night for Coleman Shelton as well. Now, let's look at the bottom 5 on offense. Alaric Jackson, a 66.2 PFF grade. Tight end Davis Allen, a 61.9. The right tackle position has been one that you've had some downs, but you've had some ups, and it wasn't a good one for Warren McClendon when he was in there at 61.9. Tight end Colby Parkinson, 60.4. He's been a disappointment in his career with the Rams, and he hasn't really done much to change that. Then running back Kyren Williams, even though he had a really nice day fantasy-wise, it wasn't a great day overall when you consider how costly that turnover was. He earned himself a 53.6 PFF grade. Now, Alaric Jackson, he's been the Rams' best lineman so far this season. It wasn't his best day. He had 4 pressures. He gave him 1 sack. It was called for a penalty. So penalty, sack, 4 pressures. That's not ideal. And then Davis Allen, he caught 2 passes for 24 yards, had a 74.2 pass blocking grade, a 65.6 grade as a run blocker. So not great tight end play for the Rams in this one. McClendon, he did come in for Rob Havenstein, and he just struggled in pass pro. He gave those 4 pressures, had the penalty. He was a mess out there. It's not a good day for him. And then Parkinson, he just hasn't had an impact, and he did not have a catch, and he had 1 target. So he was a bad signing so far, and that continues. And then Kyren, like I said, he did run the ball well, and he had 8 catches for 66 yards, so a productive day, a dynamic day. Had 2 touchdowns, but it was the drop on 3rd down that hurt him in this one, and that fumble at the goal line. It's tough to to sugarcoat that. It was his, I think, one of his worst. It was his worst moment as a Ram. Let's just call that what it is. Now, as far as the top 5 on defense, Poona Ford. I love me some Poona Ford. By the way, Poona Ford came out on social media to defend Kyren Williams, and you love to see that. Poona Ford, though, an 89.2 PFF grade. Omar Spates, 81.9. Byron Young, 79.5. Jared Verse, 75.9. And Josiah Stewart, 71.6. Josiah Stewart was close to an interception that would have really changed this game. But Poona Ford, he earned his highest grade of the season. He did a great job shutting down Christian McCaffrey, neutralizing him. This Rams team has done a fantastic job against elite running backs. First it was Saquon, then it was Jonathan Taylor, and then now it's Christian McCaffrey. So if we're looking at the positives early on this season, that certainly has to be one of them, is how well they've played against really good running backs. And Spates, 5 tackles. He gave just 1 catch for 2 yards in coverage. He played well. Byron Young, Jared Verse, Josiah Stewart, they all played well in this one. Verse, he led the team with 5 pressures. Young had 4. Stewart had 1. And he almost had an interception when he was dropped into coverage. So that would have been big. Now, the bottom 5 on defense, not a great. It's so funny. One week you're the hero. Next week it's less than that. Not calling him a 0, but it wasn't a great afternoon for Cameron Curl. The safety had a 58.5 PFF grade. Kobe Durant, 56.4. Emmanuel Forbes, 51.8. Jalen McCullough, 51.3. And Cameron Kinchins at 50.2. So all of those good PFF grades that we've read so far from the defensive players, those were guys on the front 7 of the defense. And then you look at their worst defenders, they're all in the secondary. And we've known that it's been a glaring weakness. And I'm not saying they're barbecue brisket at this point, the secondary, but I would seriously consider a trade at this point. I mean, I think you almost have to if you really want to go all in on this season, because the pass rush is really good, but the coverage is bad. I mean, and unfortunately, you got to carry your weight on the group project. The front 7, A+. The secondary, they're flaking, right? They're like, oh, we're not going to go to work on the group project. We're going to go hang out with our friends and do nothing. So you got to have those guys step up. And then Curl, this was disappointing because he has played really great at times this year. He gave 4 catches on 5 targets for 37 yards. Kobe Durant gave up 6 catches on 10 targets for 7 yards. Forbes gave 1 catch. He also missed a tackle, and he hasn't turned the corner like we had hoped. McCullough, he actually led the team with 4 missed tackles, and Kinchins had 1 too. So not a great day for the secondary. Other ones that stand out, kind of guys in the middle. Nate Landman, a good game. He had 14 tackles, had 4 stops. He broke up 3 passes, 71.6 PFF grade. He also gave 89 yards on 7 catches, and Kendrick Bourne absolutely cooked this team. It was just bad. And then Devontae Adams actually led the team with receiving yards at 88. 50 of those came on back-to-back plays there in the second half. I still think he's really, really good. He just hasn't put it all together with the offense, but I still like what he's doing out there. Fisk, he's starting to continue to get healthy, but a 66.8 for him. And you saw him in the backfield, and that's where you want to see big Braden Fisk, is being a disruptor, being a game wrecker, being in that backfield, and you definitely saw him more making plays, getting physical, and clearly he looks like he's not at 100%, but getting there. And 2-2 had 2 catches for 72 yards, had that 34-yard one, a 38-yard one. I like what's developing with him. Now, the best of the cornerbacks was Darius Williams. He had a 66.4 PFF grade. He also gave 2 catches for 19 yards, and I don't think he's a guy that you can say is going to have a major impact for you, at least right now. I mean, he's a little undersized for sure. We've known that, but yeah, I think the Rams absolutely 100% need to go and look at acquiring a cornerback too to upgrade this defense. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, hit the like button. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.